Bitter criticism. 200 pages. I have 200 pages. Maybe for tomorrow too. Lot of news. Venga, aquí. Aquí, venga, sub. We have an American citizen here, which is Tommy. Venga, Tommy, arriba. He's half pitbull and half dogo, Argentinian dogo. But he's nice. He's the only American. I'm not sure if this is the only American, you know. But you know, this is funny because what happened in the world, in Europe, let's say, and everywhere, the United States too, Trump is a peaceful the right. You know, this war is launched by the hegemon, by the neoliberalism, you know, by liberals, by, I don't know, liberals, yeah, globalists. But people are saying no to this war by voting in Trump and Bolsonaro and Cast in Chile, Milei, you know, against the war. But anyway, the masses are super lazy, you know. They should study a little bit. Anyway, there will be war, you know, if voting for the right wing. Maybe will not. The war will delay a little bit, but they will do the right wing will do war in the future, you know. Anyway, trying to understand the world. A blog. This is a blog. Trying to understand the world blog. I don't have the exact site here. The coming neo-tribalism, the coming of neo-tribalism, of honor gangsters, nomadic tribes, and of course identity politics. Aurelian, June 5th. These essays will always be free. You can still support my work by linking and commenting, and most of all by passing the essays on to others and passing the links to other sites that you frequent. I have also set up a buy me a coffee page, which you can find here. And thanks again to those who continue to provide translations. Versions in Spanish are available here. And some Italian versions of my essays are available here. Marco Zelloni is also posting some Italian translations. And as set up a dedicated website for them here. Thanks finally to others to increasingly post translations and summaries into other languages. I am always flattered and happy for this to happen. All I ask is that you tell me and provide an acknowledgement. Now then, over the last couple of years, I've written extensively about the destructive effects of unchained liberalism on Western societies and the resulting social breakdown. I'm not going to repeat myself much here, but rather to try to address a consequential point that I see as that is disastrously misguided and ultimately futile attempt to fill the yawning void left by triumphant liberalism with a form of ascriptive identity, tribalism. Why and how it began, and how it has gained pace in recent years. I am going to draw here on anthropological studies, individual and group psychology, criminology, and even the work of a famous 14th century Arab historian and sociologist, but only in a non-threatening manner and to the extent that they are useful. Humans have to cooperate to survive. It may not seem that that way these days when you order everything by telephone and internet. But of course, if there were no one to make and deliver your instant pizza, you wouldn't eat. Do you know how to grow food, and could you even do so? Do you know how to make drinking water safe? Could you keep yourself warm in the absence of electric power? If you don't know, you may be able to find out sooner than you think. In effect, modern societies relies on an almost infinite divisions of labor, such that a very small problem, say petrol tanker drivers going on strike, can paralyze an entire economy. So we must cooperate to survive, as we always have. This is a nice article, a nice essay. But of course, such economic links and cooperations are only part of the story. People traditionally lived in extended communities, and it's been persuasively argued that the endurance of these communities and their ability to learn and adapt is what distinguishes human beings from other animals. The most basic unit is the family and kinship group. Even when I was small, most extended families lived, at the very least, in the same town or city. Originally, such communities were like micro-states, economically self-sufficient and capable of collective organization and self-defense. Many of them, and we tend to forget this nowadays, lived very close to extinction. One bad rice harvest in parts of Asia, and the village might starve. Cooperation was literally a matter of life and death. You know, I was watching some, I don't remember now, but yeah, I was listening some podcasts very similar to this one, but I don't remember now. He was saying just like that collective societies in Asia, they are more collective, of course, and well, in the West, people is super individualistic, you know. Anthropologists studied tribal societies well into the 20th century, and we have a good idea how they worked, and in some cases still do, with the Tuareg on the Sahel being a surviving example. Tuareg of the Sahel, and their observations accord very well with the structures and behavior described in the Muqaddimah, the greater work of history and political and sociological theory by the 14th century Arab intellectual Ibn Khaldun, who, like most political writers worth reading, had like most political writers were reading, had practical hands-on experience of what he described, and they also tally about what we can discern from epic literature, such as the Iliad, Beowulf, and the Norse sagas. The tribe is initially an extended kinship group, tracing its origins from the individual. The further back the tribe can trace its lineage, the larger the tribe and the stronger its position. As IBN Ibn Khaldun said, and modern anthropologists have found, in such a society, the only people you can really count on in an emergency are those with whom you enjoy a sense of group solidarity, the Arabic Azabiya. And in the first instance, they are those who have blood ties. Thus, incidentally, the importance of female chastity. Yet these ties are not equally strong at all levels. The famous Bedouin saying, "Myself against my brothers, myself and my brothers against my cousins, myself and my brothers and my cousins against the world," is often seen as an example of progressive solidarity. But of course, the logic applies in reverse as well. I take the part of my brother against my cousin against my second cousin, my relative 5 generations removed from the founder against my relative 6 generations removed, without any real choice, and unto the death if necessary. The answer to Carl Smith's question, "Who is my enemy?" is potentially anyone at any time. Such a political system is essentially anarchic, and all that really holds an extended kinship group together is ties of blood and the impulsion towards survival against mutual enemies. There are no universal normative laws as we will understand them. Murder or robbery of outsiders is honorable and praiseworthy. Tribes are rough democracies, where no one really has the power to enforce obedience. There is often a venerated figure, usually the eldest male, whose job is to try to find a consensus and avert dangerous conflict. This is the origin of the belief in patriarchy, by the way. Authority in such contexts comes essentially from experience and knowledge. The man who has taken part in 40 harvests, the woman who has had 4 children and helped bring dozens more into the world, are listened to, and their advice followed. Often elderly and respected women function as emissaries and negotiators to sort out personal and marital problems before they become a threat to the peace of the tribe, a practice you still find in parts of Asia. Such societies have coexisted with organized states over thousands of years, and the relationship has been conflictual, as it still is today in the Sahel, for example. The state is historically perceived as an instrument of oppression, taking resources and providing nothing in return. So stealing from the state, refusing to pay taxes and customs duties, and attacking and killing its agents is regarded as honorable behavior. It's unsurprising, therefore, that organized crime in Europe today is very largely in the hands of immigrants from such societies, Kosovo, Chechnya, who bring with them a heritage of distrust and enmity towards the state and its rules. Eventually, some central power, usually a monarchy, was able to assert and enforce its control over these communities, especially those who lived in geographically accessible area. But that's not to say that human beings immediately began to act as indistinguishable ciphers in the best liberal fashion. Far from it. Even today, And in spite of the best efforts of governments, people take pride in collective identities, in traditions, in local dialects and accents, in traditional beliefs and faiths, in history, in common origins and common culture. In addition, there develop voluntary forms of adhesion to churches, trade unions, community associations, political parties, professional associations, even amateur football teams and leisure societies. From the identification with the city of one's birth, think of Dante's desperate longing to return to Florence, through loyalty to regions, to rulers, and ultimately to ethnic groups and nation states. People have always tried to find some group above and beyond themselves to identify with. Liberalism has spent the last 200 years trying to destroy all this, and now it has largely succeeded. Liberalism, we recall, is an ideology of radical individualism. It might be fairer to call it an ideology of self-interest, or even simply of selfishness. The individual is the measure of all things, and there is no higher value than individual freedom, especially in the economic sphere. But of course, ultimately, our freedom can imply my lack of freedom, and the exercise of my rights often imposes obligations on you. Liberalism is essentially a zero-sum game, a competition to exert our freedom and impose obligations on others, with victory going to those with the most power and money. This was less of a problem so long as liberalism remained the elite ideology it originally was, but any attempt to generalize it to society as a whole was bound to create problems. Hence the apparent paradox that liberal societies allegedly devoted to personal freedom often have highly repressive laws. But the paradox is indeed only apparent when liberalism reaches its apogee, as at the moment it turns into a war of all against all, and threatens a kind of Hobbesian anarchy, only regulated through the courts and the media. It's unsurprising that some have claimed Hobbes as an early liberal. Liberal societies today are approaching his world of anarchy tempered by absolutism with unnerving speed. Yet, in fact, the problem of unrestricted liberty was appreciated early on by Robespierre and his fellow liberals on French Revolution, for example, who introduced very strict laws about morality and made the cult of the supreme being compulsory to the combat that they saw as a dangerous drift towards pure atheism. I'm not going to spend any more time dissing liberalism. It's being done completely enough by writers. I don't know this word, dissing liberalism. It's being done completely enough by writers from both the left and the right. I just want to discuss the damage that liberalism has caused to the traditional intermediate structures of Western societies, and that has provoked the disastrous attempt to make up for it through identity politics, or as I would prefer to call it, the politics of grievance. You know, I guess this is liberalism. In all this, the individualism and so on is just a consequence of capitalism, you know? I guess there's no a liberalism ideology, you know? It's just negligence. In my opinion, it's negligence. It's just liberal capitalism. It happens because of liberalism. And well, all the problems in the world, I mean, all individualism, all the whatever, drug addiction, all the huge problems is a consequence of liberalism, of capitalism. And what else? So yeah, I am a communist. I guess all the problems in the world is capitalism. Some of these problems could legitimately be described as side effects. The worship of property ownership and the encouragement of speculation drove ordinary people out of cities and scattered families around the country to whatever they could afford to live. The financialization of the economy destroyed entire industries, devastated entire communities, made healthcare and education more difficult to obtain, and destroyed careers and the stability that went with them. The preference of governments for cars and motorways rather than public transport destroyed city centers. The abolition of barriers to movements of goods, capital and people produced a race to the bottom which was benefited almost anybody. I guess again, this is not a plan, nobody planned it. The government, people elected those governments, that's the question here. So it's just liberalism, it's just the consequences, the side effects of liberalism, of capitalism, Capital and people produces a race to the bottom which has benefited almost nobody. Yet whilst people have got rich from this development, I'm not sure, yet whilst people have got rich from these developments, and whilst there were certainly those who saw political profit in some of them, most ordinary liberals who went along with them did so because of a naive belief in freedom and in the ability of the market to sort everything out. Even now, some hold desperately to the belief that flexibility of some kind, or more education, or information technology, or artificial intelligence, or something will put things right again. I'm not agree with this guy, but the article is well written, but it's too large to me, too large by now. That's my opinion. I just said in a previous video. I think fascism is just what is lacking in the world, isn't it? I guess. It's a huge article, full of data, full of history periods. Is nice, but I have 260 pages and I'm in the 30 now, so I still have 20 pages, but I have tomorrow to read, and that's it. More news. BRICS Plus, Nizhny Novgorod, Day 2, remarks and presser. Can you see? Look, $260 60. A lot of pages. Tommy wants to go. No, Tommy, stay there. Tommy. BRICS Plus, Nizhny Novgorod, Day 2, remarks and presser. Lavrov a star, joint statement to follow. This was from Carl Sanchez, June 11, 2024. This is also from Pepe Escobar Telegram, I guess. Today saw the conclusion of the meeting of the foreign ministers of the BRICS countries and the Global South and East, the publication of the joint statement, and we will begin our report with Lavrov's remarks at the expanded BRICS session with the participation of foreign ministers from the Global South and East. There's lots to cover, and Lavrov's remarks will act as a preamble. Quote, "Dear colleagues, friends, we are starting our meeting in an expanded format, in the BRICS plus BRICS outreach format. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to Russia, to Nizhny Novgorod, to this beautiful city, the beauty of which and the feelings of its inhabitants you could see yesterday. Today's meeting reflects the course of the BRICS members to develop ties with interested countries of the global south and east, the countries of the world majority, in order to find ways to solve the most pressing global problems faced by all members of the international community without exception." Quote, "We are witnessing a profound transformation of international relations associated with the formation of a more just, polycentric world order that will reflect the entire palette of cultural and civilizational diversity of the modern world and ensure the right of each nation to determine its own destiny and its own paths of development. The main trend that the strengthening of the voice of the world majority states outside the collective West, in Asia, Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and the Caribbean, quote, only by closing ranks can we truly effectively advance the vision of a just future that we all share. In this context, it is important to strengthen the role of interstate associations that advocate balanced, equitable approaches to international development. We are talking about formats in which the principles of equal cooperation are implemented in deeds, not in words. Among them, along with BRICS, the SCO, the African Union, the AU, the CIS, ASEAN, the Arab League, CELAC, the GCC, the ARCIO, and many other associations. Today, the current chairmen of many of these associations are represented by in this hall. We believe it is important to establish contacts between all such integration structures operating at the regional level on the one hand, and our global BRICS association on the other. This will help to gradually and mutually respectfully harmonize approaches to the problems on the agenda of all associations. The task of strengthening the international legal framework and collective principles. This is a quote from Lavrov. The task of strengthening the international legal framework and collective principles in decision making on global issues is coming to the fore. Only then will these decisions be effective and legitimate. That is the principle enriched and enshrined. This word I don't know neither. Enshrined. That is the principle enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations. But unfortunately, the decisions made by the collective West, especially in the field of economy, finance, trade, and more, are increasingly not in line with the basic principles of the UN Charter. Our states have largely consonant approaches to reforming the system of multilateral institutions, including the UN and its Security Council, as well as to the post-pandemic recovery of the global economy and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals approved by the UN General Assembly. We hope that today we will be able to discuss all these issues. My emphasis. We will now move on to Lavrov's remarks and the presser that follows. and the pressure that follows. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just completed the work that lasted 2 years. Yesterday, the BRICS members met, and today we continued our discussions with the invited states that are not yet members of BRICS. They express a steady interest in developing ties with this association. In addition to the 10 BRICS members, 12 more global majority countries representing Asia, Africa, Latin America worked with us today. We discussed the most pressing international problems and challenges facing all countries. We analyzed the current international situation and the role of the world majority in shaping the international agenda. As part of the BRICS discussions, with the participation of invited countries, all delegations spoke in favor of the need to reform the existing system of global governance, with an emphasis of increasing the role of the countries of the global south. The need for collective efforts to achieve the goals of sustainable development, security, and economic growth was noted. Quote, most delegations stressed the destructive nature of the selfish policy of trade protectionism pursued by the United States of America and its allies. There has been a very little donor funding for development. These figures are in stark contrast to the allocation of hundreds of billions of dollars and euros to the Kiev regime to continue the war against the Russian Federation, which the West was being preparing for many years and is now trying, as it claims, to defeat us on the battlefield. Such sentiments are not supported by any of the BRICS members and countries that cooperate with this association. One of the negative factors undermining the right of states to develop is the unilateral restrictive measures and illegitimate sanctions of the West, which Western countries are actively introducing into their environmental arsenal in an attempt to maintain their dominance. Everyone is convinced of this. The United States and its allies are undermining the international financial and economic architecture, grossly abusing the role of the dollar and Western financial markets, and using essentially neo-colonial and unscrupulous methods. Now I'm not sure about Milou. Looks like Milou has some problems. I hear that sounds like a dog fight. Yeah, sounds like Milou is crying, is under pain, but maybe sometimes other dog, there's some other dogs barking very similar to Milou. Anyway, we paid special attention to discussing security issues at the global level and countering new challenges and threats, primarily terrorism, drug trafficking, and organized crime. Crisis situations are considered in particular in Europe, in the Middle East, in Africa, and Eurasia. All participants, without exception, paid special attention to the tragic situation in the Gaza Strip, where 37,000 civilians are already being killed and about 100,000 have been injured. The operation continues, bringing more and more victims among innocent people every day. We emphasized that there is no alternative to consistent efforts to support the formation of a multipolar world order based on the sovereign equality of states and as required by the UN's Charter, and an equal interstate dialogue without a hidden agenda in order to find collective answers to challenges facing the world. We share the view that BRICS should play a proactive role in these processes, Let me remind you that the association is more than a third of the world's area. 45% of the world's population. In terms of GDP, BRICS has already surpassed the G7 in 2023, when there were only 5 members of the association. The GDP indicator for the countries of the association was more than 32% of the global total. Everyone knows. You know, I made a ChatGPT research. I asked to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT only told me 5 members. This was last week, you know. So ChatGPT is absolutely propaganda, West propaganda. Anyway, everyone knows the facts that confirm that the BRICS countries are in many ways the locomotive of the world economy. According to various sources. This year, the average economic growth rates of the BRICS countries continue to significantly exceed the global economic growth rates. The Russian presidency has planned about 200 events. Of these, about 70 have already taken place, including in such priority areas as nuclear medicine, climate, sustainable development, peaceful space exploration, and a number of others. The BRICS International Film Festival was held in April this year. Oh, I like this. I will link this. I will click on this. Was held in April this year. The Academic Forum was held in May this year. And a meeting of the Minister of Education opens today. Tomorrow we will start the BRICS Sports Games in Kazan. Well, all nice, you know. I will print all this because, you know, I assume I was smoking weed 2 weeks ago, but I'm not a junkie, you know. I can't stop. I drink a little alcohol because of the cold right here in Chile, and that's it. Alcohol for the cold, a little weed for I don't know why. I should stop smoking weed, but I just smoke once a month. That's it. I guess I smoke just to have to relax. I mean, to, you know, my opinion, normal people, I am a normal guy. We are neurotics, you know. We are neurotics. We are always too much. We are too thick, you know. We have a thick mind. We are always thick. We are always nervous, you know. We are always nervous, and as we are always nervous, we stop thinking more broadly. Understand? We just keep buying neurotism, you know. That's how I can put it. We are just every time under preoccupations, under stress, you know. So that's why once a month, I guess, is good to smoke weed, and just that. I never did cocaine, you know. But anyway, that's my self-criticism, bitter criticism. I'm drinking bitter alcohol because of the cold. Bitter alcohol. Next time, maybe tomorrow, I will check. Well, I have I don't remember now the name of these bitter alcohols. Well, just because of the cold. The BRICS International Film Festival was held in April this year. The Academic Forum was held in May this year. And a meeting, well, tomorrow I will take a bitter alcohol here. Was held in April this year. The Academic Forum was held in May this year. and a meeting of the ministers of education opens today. Tomorrow will start the BRICS Sports Games in Kazan. These are just some of the events that we are holding as part of our chairmanship. Yeah, but you know, I hope the best for the BRICS. I do, but I'm not sure if BRICS capitalism, will develop the world. That's the question. I'm not sure if that's gonna happen. I'm not sure if Russia and China, if they have the power to do that. I know Brazil. I was living in Brazil. Right wing in Brazil, imperialism in Brazil is out of reach. You know, they have a lot of They have a lot of power in Brazil. So I'm not sure if they could free Brazil from imperialism. Anyway, in accordance with the agreements of the BRICS Summit in Johannesburg in 2023, a review of the work of the harmonization of modalities for the new category of BRICS partner countries was introduced. I would like to note that the number of states interested in joining our work is growing steadily and has already approached 3 dozen. All our friends in the association understand that such a request cannot remain without a positive response. We will continue to work in this direction. We will prepare relevant recommendations for our summit, which will be held in Kazan on October 2022-24, from 22 to 24, 2024. Following the BRICS meeting, which took place yesterday, a capacious detailed joint statement was adopted, which reflects the approaches of the BRICS countries on topical issues on the international agenda. In the spirit of the assessments I outlined above, the work already in an expanded format, I am very satisfied with this. When smoothly, everyone was guided by consensus, even the most difficult issues that are reflected in the text. I recommend that all representatives of the media pay due attention to the joint statement in your reports from Nizhny Novgorod and in their subsequent analysis of the final work. I guess I'm near to the end. I will do some yoga. No, it's huge. It's huge. I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, I just lost. This is absolutely huge, but it's nice. No, it's absolutely nice. Maybe tomorrow I will read it. I will stop and read Lavrov because it's awesome. But that's it. I swear I just smoke one a month. Even though one a month, a little bit of weed at the age of 37. I will not say it's devastated, but it's hard to remember everything, you know. It's hard to have a good memory. So now I'm going to do my yoga without music. Yeah. Without music, Tommy. I just free Tommy recently. You know, the problem with weed, smoking weed, is that let's say you smoke weed and you get stoned. You get stoned by weed, and then when you recover yourself, you want to smoke again. So there are people normally smoking weed. It's pretty common. People smoking twice a day, you know, twice a day. In my opinion, twice a day is too much, you know. Once a month, I guess, is nice. I mean, you should do that on because you know the life is full of anger. You know, people is full of anger in capitalism. People is too aggressive, you know. People neglect their feelings. People neglect what is more important to them. Is more important. Sometimes everybody should smoke some weed, you know, to keep cool, you know, to make important things, to realize there are more important things. Some people don't need weed. Like in my case, I guess I don't need weed, you know. I guess I don't need weed, but you should only be rational. But that's not all, you know. Maybe there are astrology too. Maybe it's just what you are. Maybe you are just a more aggressive people. Understand? Maybe you have a little compassion. You have less compassion than other people, you know. Maybe you are more stupid than other people.